And now, will everybody please tune in to the Mosaic movie mashup?
Hello, everybody. This is
Gianna.
Philemon, Vlad,
James.
and Dimitri, and welcome to the Mosaics movie mashup.
So this weekend we all went to see Hamlet, Gilgamesh, Freud, and Genesis in the movie tavern.
and today we want to do a review for you guys on all the movies, and let me tell you, they are all worth watching.
I don't know about that, Philemon. I personally thought Hamlet was horrible.
Well then, why don't we go ahead and start with the movie Hamlet? Since you have already made an opinion, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody why you think this film was not what you expected it to be?
Well, I think this movie was way overhyped. So, here I am expecting Hamlet to actually do something about his crazy uncle who killed his father, but he kind of just sits there and whines instead. His dad was murdered, and his mom literally starts dating his uncle a month later. Hello, desperate, get it together, Gertrude. Not gonna lie, I teared up a little when Hamlet said to be or not to be. I mean, his life really does suck. And in the end, I think the ending was a little bit too gory for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It was a letdown for me too. I expected Hamlet to do more about the love of his life. If he really loves Ophelia, why would he order her to enter a nunnery and declare that he wishes to ban marriages? The fight between Laertes and Hamlet was a thrilling one that the moviegoers will enjoy. And before the battle, Hamlet declines to drink from the king goblets, which contain poison. Instead, Gertrude dies. Other than that, I didn't really find anything else interesting. What do you think, Dimitri?
Well, I actually kind of enjoyed the film, but I have to agree with a little bit with Jana that there was a lot of crazy drama throughout this whole movie. But especially at the end, it's like everyone just dies. Yeah, it's not a typical Hollywood film, which is nice, where the main characters always survive, but everybody to just die, that's just overdoing it. Claudius tries to get Hamlet to drink the poison, but instead Gertrude gets to it first, and he doesn't even get her to stop. Like, that's his wife. That's his wife. Why would you let her drink the poison knowing she's gonna die? He should have told her it was poison, but anyways, regardless. Then Laertes cuts Hamlet, poison into him. Then Hamlet manages to switch the blades with Laertes and poisons him, and Gertrude ends up dying. Hamlet kills Claudius because he's enraged, and it's just a whole big mess. But aside from all this crazy nonsense, the idea behind the whole movie was quite interesting, with Hamlet trying to figure out how the death of his father actually happened. He was so sure that Claudius was the enemy, and he plotted his ways through the whole movie to end his life.
Well, at least Hamlet did it.
Yeah, too bad he didn't kill Claudius early on when he had the chance. He could have saved his mother and had his revenge for his father, and everything would have been just fine.
Hamlet tried to, but found him praying. Since he believes that killing Claudius while in prayer would send Claudius' soul to heaven, Hamlet considers that it would be an adequate revenge and decides to wait. Too bad he waited too long.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, the acting in this movie was pretty poor as well.
I totally agree.
Horrible.
It's so true. Overall, we can say that Hamlet was a pretty good movie. They had a good concept with a pretty solid plot. It was a little dramatic on the negative side, but still worth seeing for sure. But anyways, let's move on and talk about Gilgamesh now.
Okay, I want to start. I think them casting Channing Tatum as Gilgamesh was a perfect fit, because Channing is a total babe. And Taylor Lautner as Enkidu wasn't too bad to look at either.
Totally agree. His muscles were made for this role.
Oh yeah, I actually think this film is pretty authentic to the book. It started off with Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, wanting to be even more famous and glorified than he already was. Gilgamesh starts off as a bad guy. He would go around and have sex with anyone he felt like. The gods created Enkidu as a way to tame Gilgamesh.
I think my favorite scene from this movie was when that crazy girl Ishtar threw a hissy fit and had her dad, the god of the sun, send down the bull of heaven. I liked watching Channing and Taylor wrestle the bull, but I totally thought they were going to die. And poor Enkidu is the only one who gets punished for this crime, as the gods decide that he's going to die as a consequence. I think the movie was also pretty scandalous.
I enjoyed the emphasis of personal journey in Gilgamesh. I thought it was a great and relatable symbol for viewers. Gilgamesh must embark on a quest in order to discover who he is. The journey of fulfillment and fame is one that is engaging and appealing to all audiences.
Well said, Philma. Well said.
Thank you.
Respect. I fully agree. I mean, it was a very interesting story in regards to the journey of Gilgamesh and Enkidu. This was definitely a great movie and worth seeing. So let's move on then. How about we talk about Freud next? Freud is my man, first of all. I have always been interested in his theories, and I actually like to believe that most of them are pretty accurate. This documentary really did a good job in portraying them.
Yeah, one of those theories was psychoanalysis, as it is realistic and will be applied in all practices of psychology in the future. His goal was to treat patients with mental illnesses by investigating the interaction of conscious and unconscious elements in the mind and bringing repressed fears into the conscious mind by techniques such as dream interpretation.
Yeah, I think that the documentary about Freud's theories were interesting and his dream interpretations were really cool, but he's definitely a strange person with a mind out of this world. However, my favorite parts of the Freud documentary is that he talked about slips of the tongue, dream interpretation, and psychoanalysis. Freud quotes, "We look upon consciousness as nothing more nor less than the defining characteristic of the psychical, and psychology as a study of the contents of consciousness."
Yeah, the quote greatly illustrates how the conscious has a multitude of influences and impacts on an individual's physical and mental character. Many of us have experienced what is commonly referred to as a Freudian slip. These misstatements are believed to reveal underlying unconscious thoughts or feelings.
All in all, I believe that Freud's sole purpose for a series is to explain why things in life are the way they are. Psychoanalysis is meant to help people explore their development, their conscious and unconscious mind, and the psychology of their mind. Well, all in all, the documentary as a whole was very informative and definitely a good watch.
So the last and final movie we saw was the film adaptation of Genesis, starring Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie as Adam and Eve. Russell Crowe played Noah, and Seth Rogen and James Franco played Cain and Abel. I thought the casting was kind of on point.
Yeah, the plot was that Eve's sons made offerings to God. Only Abel's offering was acceptable, so Cain killed him. Abel's blood cried out, and God sent Cain away.
Yeah, there was a lot of great actors, but I'm not so sure that they all fit the part. I want to view the story very seriously, but I don't think that Seth Rogen and James Franco cut it for the role of Cain and Abel. In the actual story, God is unpleased with Cain's offer of a portion of his crops, and that upsets Cain. He gets enraged and goes on to take his brother Abel to the field, where he murders him. This is a very serious part and has a strong meaning behind it. Cain doesn't think about the consequences or his actions in general. He's angry and goes on to take actions that he'll regret. In this movie, though, with Seth Rogen playing as Cain, he makes a total joke out of the part. You don't get the same feel and understanding from this movie as you would in the real story. And I don't really support the story as being very funny in any way in general. Aside from that, though, it seemed to follow the main ideas and themes somewhat accurately. What did you think, Philemon?
To me, Abel was more selective of picking his sacrifice. He chose the fat portions of his firstlings from his flock to symbolize that everything is because of God. Abel's actions demonstrate that he is doing the righteous thing not because God wants him to, but because he is compelled by good faith. However, Cain is not motivated by faith. He settles for mediocrity and does what is expected of him. So to me, it is understandable to see why God was upset with Cain.
So overall, these movies were pretty good and definitely worth watching. I think we all can say that we learned a lot from each movie.
Yeah, these movies touch on the themes of morality, the hero's journey, the importance of religion, and the underlying influences within our conscious and subconscious mind, and how those things impact our lives, which I think is pretty important. Well, yeah. Thanks for tuning in to the Mosaics movie mashup.
Bye, guys.
See ya.